White House yet to comment fully, but Joe Biden had been openly opposed to a major Israeli offensive inside Rafah, so this will surely have confirmed their fears.
I made it clear that if they go into Rafah, they haven't gone into Rafah yet. If they go into Rafah, I'm not supplying the weapons that have been used historically to deal with Rafah.
And that position only likely to harden if it's found US-supplied weapons were used. This strike happened only days, as Natalie was just saying, after the International Court of Justice ordered Israel to immediately halt military actions that cause widespread civilian death in Rafah. Joining me to discuss is President of the Middle East Policy Council and former US Ambassador Gina Abercrombie-Winstanley. What do you make of the fact there's been only a muted response so far from the White House? It's 24 hours on nearly, and yet no public statement from the administration.
I think the muted response is a clear testament to the complexity of the issue for the president right now. The ramping up of the domestic political implications has been clear. So we've heard from Republicans, from former President Trump, about the importance of maintaining unadulterated support for the government of Israel, regardless of what it does. And of course, you've got strong voices in the president's party, not only in leadership, but among possible and likely voters, that they are dissatisfied with the continued U.S. support for a war that has resulted in charges of genocide, charges of not paying attention to or violating international humanitarian law. And whatever those legal determinations will be in future, the fact is that these sorts of attacks, these sorts of responses, rather, are what contribute to these concerns. So the president is in a very difficult position. He laid a red line, and now he's going to be forced to say whether this has been met and what the response is going to be.
Well, I was going to go beyond that. I was going to say he set a red line, and I'm wondering whether he's walking that back under significant political pressure from the Republicans, who've obviously taken him on. There's been a House resolution about the weapons that he stalled, that he didn't supply to Israel. We will see, will we not, in the UN Security Council this week, how firm he is on his red lines, because they are going to discuss this ICJ ruling in the context of what we've just been reporting, in the context of an atrocity, really. 45 people killed, over 100 injured. Isn't the president pulling his punches if he says, well, this is not the full military operation? What else does it look like?
Well, certainly before this response, this attack that caused so many civilian casualties, the president had a little bit of gray area about it not being a full assault. And certainly the Israeli government was reassuring us, and indeed the world, that it was not a full assault. I do not believe that the president is going to be swayed by the Security Council. You've seen repeatedly over the last 8 months that that has not had an impact on U.S. policy per se. What he does and how he addresses this response is going to come from his own considerations. He has already shown that he's been willing to withhold weapons, the 2,000 and 5,000 pound bombs that have generally been used in the Gaza Strip. You can absolutely count on a very firm review by U.S. officials on what exactly happened in Rafah, and that will determine what his next steps are. But it's not going to be held or pushed by the Security Council. It will be held or pushed by his own calculations about what is necessary.
Just a very quick word before I let you go on the House Speaker's decision to invite Prime Minister Netanyahu to address a joint session. He says that he's got the nod from Senator Chuck Schumer, which is interesting given how critical Chuck Schumer's been about Prime Minister Netanyahu. I'm thinking back to 2015 when Netanyahu was so critical of President Obama's deal on Iran. I mean, you can, you can well imagine what his comment, his rhetoric might be in respect of President Biden's decision not to send weapons.
Mm-hmm. It's not making anybody happy, I can assure you, rather, except for Republicans who, of course, want to put the president in a difficult position. It certainly breaks all protocol. And there are those who are calling on the president to address the Israeli public in a similar fashion. That may be necessary. It may be wise, as many believe that Israeli citizens are not watching the same news that the rest of the world is seeing, that they are so still traumatized by what happened on October 7th, indeed terribly, terribly heinous attack, but so traumatized that they haven't space to really see what else is happening. And President Biden addressing them might help that. It's happened before. It's not going to be comfortable. We will see what the Prime Minister says.
Ambassador, good of you to come on the programme this evening. Thank you for that.
Absolutely. You're welcome.